Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the OMC video blog. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've done it, and I kind of want to get into what's been going on. And of course, it's the whole point of this video blog in the first place is to just kind of get into what's going on, what are we doing, and that kind of stuff, and to tackle some topics that are interesting, at least to me anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but to me, I find them interesting, so it's just something that I like to get into. So let's kind of get started with, well, where have we been all this time? Like, why haven't we done a video or anything like that? I want to say that first I got sick because it all started with I got bit by a spider, and it escalated into something else, and in the end it turned out that I had shingles, and that was pretty much what was going on. So there was a lot of laying in the bed, a lot of trying to avoid scratching, and there's a lot of itching. And even now, still, it's not 100%, but it's better. At least I look better, so that's something. So yeah, that pretty much meant that I couldn't really make videos. I mean, I guess I could have done them mainly with no video, but I don't know. It's kind of weird to have some looping thing going on. And so I just didn't want to do that. Not to mention that the scratching and itching was just really annoying. So yeah, it's been a rough few weeks. There's a whole story behind the whole spider bite thing and the whole nine. And I won't get into that because I'm trying to keep the personal stuff out of these. But I think people who have been kind of looking at the stuff that we've been doing, I think it's a good idea to at least be more upfront about kind of what's going on. And so, yeah, basically that's what happened. And so, yeah, I apologize. I'm sorry. But, these things happen, and that's just how it worked out. This particular video, since it's more of, I'm just kind of explaining what's going on and kind of talking about where we're going and stuff. I just want to kind of do it off the cuff. So normally I have stuff written down and I'm just kind of going through that. But in this case, it's 100% off the cuff. I haven't written anything down. I'm just going at it and talking about some stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about is the game. Because, hey, like, I've been pretty much out of commissions. To be quite frank, I haven't really messed with the game too much. I've been meaning to, and I've done quite a bit of stuff, but I haven't done a whole lot. Most of the things that I've done are mostly things that are easy to do. Like there's a lot of graphical things that need to change, levels that need to be built, that kind of stuff. And so I've been working on that a lot. And so that's pretty much, it's something I can do without, especially, during those days when I was all itchy and scratchy and stuff. It's a lot harder to do. And so, I just couldn't really get into that. And so, yeah, basically I just decided that I was just gonna, do something that wasn't going to require, something that I could put down easily and wasn't going to require a whole lot of work. But in the last, say, week or so, I've actually made some pretty good progress with the game. It's funny when when you're working on something and you go back, you look at it, sometimes like you put things down and then you come back and you look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. Then you realize, wow, I could have done something completely different and made it better. And that's one of the things, I had been working on part of the city, this one particular city. I've been working on it since day one of Skullforge. Like, we've been working on it since we started working on Skullforge. So it's been years since we've been working on this thing. And, there's a lot of tedious things that have to happen. Roads have to be made, buildings have to be put down, and all the city blocks have to be done and arranged. And I have this graph. I've got like graph paper and I have them all laid out, organized, so I have the whole city, so you can look at all the little pieces. But I never even thought of trying to make that process easier. And so yeah, for some reason I was laying in the bed, trying to fight the itching and trying not to scratch. And for some reason this thought came over my head, and at some point I decided I was gonna go change something that I don't know why after all these years I never thought about doing, but I did it. I went and did it, and believe it or not, it meant that process of making that city was like 10 times faster. It's amazing, like watching it transform. Like once I figured out like that one thing that changed everything, it was amazing to see like the progress. Like that city's been kicking my ass for a long time. And, now it's done pretty good. Like, it's funny to look at it now because it's like, wow, it's all coming together. Like all my little streets are there and my little roads are there and all that. I don't know what I was thinking over the years. I just pretty much had been doing everything by hand, but like the process of offloading some of that stuff and then coming and having it pre-made and then just dumping it in. Oh my God, I don't know what I was thinking, but there it is. Like it's amazing. Pretty happy about that, quite frankly. And so, yeah, that was the biggest thing. And then the other piece of this puzzle is that I've been looking at making my NPC structure a little bit better. Like the thought of the changes that we made to how the cities were made me think about NPCs, because one of the things about NPCs is if you have 100 of them, a lot of times what games will do is they'll have like one model, and that's NPC A, and then they'll have model NPC A1 and A2 and A3 and A4 and A5. If you go back and you look at stuff like what's a good example, The Last Story or something like that, or what's the Shin Megami Tensei or something like that, where they have like a bunch of people on the screen at the same time. They tend to cheat because you don't want to be making every NPC. It's a pain in the ass, to make every NPC, especially considering that those NPCs don't do anything. They're just decoration. You're changing them to make the whole believability of it better because, well, obviously you want people to feel like there's some different people in this thing instead of all just one cloned guy. Now, most people, I imagine, don't care. They're not paying attention to those NPCs. They're just there for window dressing anyway. But, I've been making NPCs by hand for years now. So all the NPCs in the game are pretty much all made by hand, except for the enemies that you fight. Enemies that you fight are guys that respawn. They're like generic, so you're just gonna kill them and move on, or you're gonna beat them down and move on. So there isn't a whole lot of stuff going on. But the guys in the town, I tried to make them where they have a place where they live. They have a home to go to. They have a job. They can go to eat someplace or eat at home. There's stuff like that. So try to make each NPC different. Oh, they all have a name, so you got Leslie, you got Jack, you got, what I'm saying? Like they're all laid out that way. But the process of creating every last one of those NPCs, you can imagine, is totally tedious. Like it takes forever to make NPCs. The process of making them, especially if you want to give them stats and you want, so if you want to attack them, maybe I want to use that NPC in a quest, and therefore I don't want to have to remake all their stats and stuff. I can just use them. Or what happens when they die? Like you go and kill them, now they're gone, that kind of stuff. And so that process is long. So what I've been trying to do the last week or so is to make that process of making NPCs a lot faster. I did think about cloning, using like a base kid model, base adult female model, male model, and that kind of stuff. I've thought about it, and it's something that I think if it comes down to where it's just getting to be too much of a pain in the ass, then I might just go ahead and do that. But for the moment, I don't. All NPCs are unique except for the ones that you fight. And the ones that you fight are not unique because they respawn, unlike regular. It's the gamey part. I talked a few weeks ago. I talked about gamey, the gamey part of games, and this is one of the gamey parts of games. Like I originally had it where if you go into a dungeon, you kill everything. Like you killed everything, then stuff wouldn't respawn. Like you killed it and it's dead and it's not coming back. So things have one life and you killed them. The problem is at some point you can wipe out the whole map and you can wipe out the whole world and there's no one out there because you killed everything, which makes it hard to level up. It makes it hard to make the world seem like things are going on. You go into a dungeon, you killed everybody and everybody's dead, that kind of stuff. Now, there's still some things out there that when you kill them, they're gone forever and they're not coming back. But for the most part, I made the generic mobs, just kind of respawn after some time. I mean, it takes a long time for them to respawn, but they do respawn. Anyway, that's the game progress I've made, which has been pretty good. Like I said, I feel pretty good about where it's going and where I've taken the game, and there's still so many things, but the main point is I want to try to get this demo done, and I want the demo to be released, I'm guessing around Christmas time. That's kind of my thought at the moment. Christmas time thereabouts. I feel like I want to have like the demo we can put out, people can play it and kind of see what the game's all about and stuff. But that's still a ways away, and that gives me plenty of time to work on all of the underneath stuff. So yeah, anyway, that's the game. I'll probably talk more about that in the future, maybe next week. The next thing that I've been working on is prototyping some stuff that I want to work on in the future. The thing is as a game developer, you're always looking ahead. Like, I don't think I know of any game developer who is only looking at the current project. It's always about, well, okay, this is what we're working on now, but thinking in the future, this is where we want to go. Like, we want our next game to be whatever. Man, because games take a long time to make, so you should always be ready for the next thing. So even though you're working on game A, you should already be prepping for game B so that you can just roll right into that process. So what I've been doing is prototyping kind of the next thing that I want to get into. I'd really like a genre shift, but I may not be able to get it this time. But at least I want to lay the groundwork. And I only do it on the weekends. It's not something that I do during the week when I'm actually working on the actual game. But it is good to just kind of build some skills for other things. Like, for example, like one of the things that I find interesting about the prototyping process is that a lot of the stuff that I'm working on now is completely different than what I'm, the prototype stuff is different from what I'm working on now. So for example, like the game that we're working on now, Skullforge, with the top-down camera and the whole nine, it's more that Diablo-esque kind of look, versus what I'm working on next is something completely different. So like way it's done, the way you interact, there's some similarities, but basically it's a lot different, and therefore different skills. And different skills means that you're learning stuff the whole time, and so that's the other thing. I'm enjoying it. It's good to take a break. One of the things about me in particular, I don't know about anybody else, but me, the way I deal with things is I realize that I'm a workaholic, so therefore, if I have time, I want to just keep working on Skullforge and just keep working on it. And so, 2-3 in the morning, I'm still working. So what I've been doing is to keep from getting burnout is to limit time worked to 8 hours or 9 sometimes ish. And then after that, it's free time. So play some video games, chat with the wife, talk to some friends, that kind of stuff. And then also allows me some time to prototype and work on some other things for other people, write some stories, that kind of stuff. It gives me time to do other stuff, and it doesn't burn me out because I'm not working on the same thing. And so, yeah, it's been really interesting and really nice, actually. Nice change of pace to work on something different so that I can keep the old brain fresh. So yeah, it's been good. The other thing, finally, I want to talk a little bit about Aji. To be honest, I had intended to have this written and out soon. At the time that I mentioned it, I wanted to do like a little web thing, but the problem is delivery. And on top of that, a few weeks ago I talked about stories, and stories turn it into something else when you write them. So in my head, I had an idea of what this thing was going to be like what I wanted it to be. I laid out the story. I kind of figured out who were the principal characters, what the conflict was, that kind of stuff. What was the beginning, the ending, where we're going, and how I'm gonna get from point A to point Z. But the issue is, once I started writing it turned into something else. If that makes any sense. Sometimes, when you have it in your head and you're thinking about, whatever it is that you're thinking about, whether it's, writing something or making something or whatever. I mean, even if the case of this table, this table that I'm at, I made this table. When I was originally looking at the wood, and I was looking at what I was going to do, in my head, I had an idea of what that table was going to be like. But once I actually started working on it, it turned into something completely different. It didn't quite match what I had in my head. It's not bad. I'm not saying that to mean that it was worse. I'm just saying that what I originally thought was something completely different. And so sometimes when you're working on stuff, the thing that you're thinking doesn't work out the way that you wanted it to. So I felt like I needed to change this in some way, or rethink what I was thinking, because I think doing it the way the story's going and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like Undead, so the whole story is about cannibals and vampires and stuff, and I'm not an Undead guy. I don't really get into that. But it actually turned into something that I'm happy with. I just think I need to go back and before I release this thing, I feel like I want to restructure the story points and kind of my long-term goal, because I think it's a good idea to make sure that the people who read it feel like it's cohesive. I feel like that it works from the beginning to the end, and not feel like that I did some ass pull somewhere down the line in order to make that happen. It's just something that, for me personally, I just want it to feel more natural, and I want the readers to feel like that everything makes sense. So when they get to the end, they won't go, I don't understand. Why did that happen? What was the whole point of that? And I just don't want that. I just want the readers to understand and appreciate the journey, especially considering the journey would be fairly long. So I just want them to be able to appreciate the characters and what they did and why they did what they did and what the world situation's like, and that kind of stuff. And it should make sense as to the motivations for the characters to do X, Y, Z. So that's been pushed back just a little bit while I work on more of go back and rework my whole plan. I'm not going to rewrite the stuff I've already written. I'm happy with that. I just need to make sure that all the plot points fit so that they match what I actually wanted. I'm not one of those guys that doesn't write the ending first. My ending is almost always written before I actually get to the writing. Mainly because I want to know where I'm going. Like, what's the point? Like, where am I going to? And so I personally like to have the ending and major plot points already laid down, so I kind of know where I'm going. The middle part, as I said, is usually up in the air. But sometimes as I'm writing, the tone and stuff, makes things feel differently. And so I think when that feel changes, then you should go back and reevaluate what it is that you're doing. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. Anyway, I appreciate you sticking this long. Originally, I did not want this video to go this long, but I do appreciate you guys sticking and listening to what I had to say and kind of what's been going on. I just want to say that spiders can really make your life miserable, even though those little bastards, they're just little bastards, but man, be careful. And then, with things the way they are today, make sure that you keep yourself safe. If you feel weird, please stay at home. Don't go outside. Just stay home, quarantine yourself, think about everybody else, and not just you, think about other people and kind of what their situation is, and do the right thing. So anyway, thanks a lot for listening. Next week, or this week, I think on Friday, plan to have another video. This one just took a little bit longer to get to, but I appreciate you listening and all that, and make sure that if you like the content, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and leave a like or a comment. So if you have anything that you want to say or anything like that, feel free. Drop a comment down below, and I'll be more than happy to read and respond. And I read everything that gets posted. I mean, not a whole lot of it, but whatever gets posted, I tend to read. And we'll see you guys later on this week. Peace.